After the explosive events in Season 5, Cobra Kai's final season picks up with a little montage of all our characters. Johnny and Carmen are prepping for their baby's arrival, while it's all happy families in the LaRusso household. Tellingly though, Chosen is still living with them. At school, the kids are also getting along, which is a nice change of pace, but things with Kenny are still a little tense. Daniel is confident that things are over and they won the karate wars. Of course, we know this is all the calm before the eventual storm. Kreese is still out there. Amanda is also concerned about the World Karate Tournament, but Daniel reassures her that the Sekai Taikai can be used as a stepping stone to prop up Miyagi-Do as the best dojo. Daniel reassures Amanda that this tournament is his swan song and he's done with karate after all of this is finished.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen, mate.
Things between Johnny and Daniel are still on good terms for now, but a destruction of the Eagle Fang warehouse and Daniel undermining Johnny could undo all of this good work. That much is especially evident when Daniel chooses Chosen to take on his lesson instead. Hawk comes up with a new name to combine for the two dojos, Miyagi Fang Karate. Honestly guys, that's a pretty cool logo, but Daniel does not agree. As he and Chosen argue, it all comes down to a fight between Johnny and Chosen to decide the name of the dojo. Johnny is determined, seeing this as more than just a name. He brought Eagle Fang up from the ashes and turned it into a solid dojo, so for him, this thing is personal. While getting ready to fight, Johnny receives a message from an unknown sender, telling him to meet at Coyote Creek. Wherever it is, they also mention that Cobra Kai never dies. It turns out to be Stingray, out in the woods, training his own pupils and wanting to bring Cobra Kai back properly. He also wants Johnny to be their leader, but he refuses, despite a rather convincing speech from Stingray about how good a sensei Johnny is. While Benedict makes peace with the others, less friendly are Tori and Sam. They're in the same dojo, but they don't exactly like each other, and a double date isn't helping matters. Robbie and Miguel do their best to try and calm things down, but it doesn't seem to work. Robbie also finds himself in hot water as he tries talking to Kenny at the arcade. However, Kenny's older brother Sean shows and warns him off. He's out of juvie now, and he means business. Naturally, Robbie doesn't back off and continues this dialogue with Sean and Kenny at the baseball cages. Things grow heated, eventually ending with a fight between the kids. However, this works quite well for Sean to speak plainly to Kenny in private, telling him he needs to think about his future. He also knows that Robbie and the others aren't outright thugs, given how they eased up on fighting. As for Tori and Sam, they finally seem to see eye to eye. After hearing about this and understanding compromise is a part of teamwork, Daniel decides they should honour Johnny's wishes and let him win this once. He speaks to Chosen and decides he and Johnny don't need to fight after all. Interestingly, Johnny has come to the same conclusion, at least about the name. Cobra Kai is John Kreese's legacy and he doesn't want anything to do with him. Johnny patches things up with Daniel and Chosen, with the latter going ahead with his fight against Johnny, just for the hell of it. With everyone at Miyagi-Do, Kenny even shows up to join the ranks. Unfortunately, Kreese is not finished yet and he shows up to see Kim Da-eun, determined to bring Cobra Kai back from the ashes. And that is where episode 1 comes to an end. Episode 2 of Cobra Kai Season 6 starts with a flashback involving Johnny and Terry out in the woods. They both show up to see Kim Da-eun, a little girl who happens to be trained by a Korean sensei. He's brutal, beating his granddaughter down for insubordination. Johnny Lawrence confronts him for his methods and is beaten down for his troubles. Master Kim decides that he's going to teach him no mercy, so Johnny never forgets. While fighting, Da-eun jumps in and strikes her grandfather, which is enough to impress the guy and allow her training to begin. Fast forward to the present and she's in lieu with Kreese. It's clear that things are going to get personal given Johnny's connections with this girl. While Kim is all in with this new Cobra Kai dojo, Kreese promises to honour her grandfather, and by extension her too, wish to bring his style of karate to America. Kreese reminds her that there's an earned spot in the Sekai Taikai and thinks their dojo can go win it. Da-eun is not so sure and consults her grandfather about the matter, who happens to still be alive. He refuses outright, even calling Da-eun incompetent. However, she fights back, claiming the success could bring them eternal glory. Master Kim turns his attention to Kreese and decides that he needs to prove himself. In order to do that, he needs to return an ancient knife. So he's basically forced into a side quest to gain enough experience points before continuing the main campaign. Unfortunately, there's a boss inside the cave in the form of a white cobra. It guards a knife and he needs to get it back. Meanwhile, there are financial worries for the Diaz family, as the roof caves in after a sewage pipe bursts. Carmen is worried given their lack of funds, and Miguel overhears them discussing how they're going to struggle paying for everything alongside Miguel's tuition. Despite his big plans for a fancy school, Miguel overhears a pitch for a college closer to home that could help, a safety school, which takes the burden off the finances. Miguel is interested, and while being shown around with the other kids, he finds Kyla is a student there. Unfortunately, he's a pledge for the bigger kids and is being hazed. Kyla though is convinced that he's going to join them next year, so he takes a humiliation on the chin. Miguel overhears that night though that the frat leader has no intention of letting Kyla be part of their group. Kyla flips when he finds out, and a big fight ensues during the party. This actually works quite well for Kyla's prospects, as he no longer needs to be a pledge at the Omega house, and he impresses the other kids there too. Alone, Kyla tells Miguel that the safety school is always going to be there, but he needs to focus on his own dreams and prospects rather than settling for this. Johnny goes apartment shopping with Chosen while all this is going on, which immediately ends up in hilarity as Johnny's social skills cause him to lose the first house they look at. Chosen is not happy given his attitude and believes Johnny is not really embracing the true Miyagi-Do values. At the next house it's the same realtor, but Johnny does a good job selling his situation, managing to keep calm despite clenching his fists super tight. In fact, the person who's selling the house knows who Johnny Lawrence is and that he's something of a celebrity around the parts. He's happy to let him have the house, but Johnny needs to confirm he has a stable income in order to prove himself. Johnny shows up to see Daniel at the dealership next and decides he wants some back pay. There's a hilarious couple of jokes about Chosen in here, but unfortunately Daniel refuses to help Johnny. Instead, he tells him to go out and get a job. As the episode closes out, Johnny shows up at the car dealership to work alongside LaRusso and manages to sell a car immediately. While this is happening, Kreese has some crazy visions about how Johnny is his weakness in the cave. After facing his demons, he's ready for round 2 with the Cobra after initially being bitten. Kreese returns from his treacherous task, battered, bruised, but carrying the ancient knife as requested. He also has the severed head of the snake too, which impresses Master Kim. And that is where episode 2 comes to an end. Episode 3 of Cobra Kai season 6 starts with everyone prepping for a big gender reveal party. They're at LaRusso's place, but there's clearly tensions between Amanda and Chosen, with the former wanting Chosen to leave the house. A knock at the door brings a package which Johnny and Daniel suss is Kreese dropping off a bomb. Johnny makes Daniel hold the box, and as it explodes, it turns out it's a little gender reveal bomb. Johnny and Carmen are going to have a baby girl. Meanwhile, Kreese learns more about the dojo's unique teachings, including a fabled move called the Viper Attack. This is carried out by a long-standing servant to the dojo, Yun Do-jin. His family have trained in the dojo for generations. He's apparently the best they have and carries out everything to perfection, but he's not the only bright star here. Kwon Jae-sung is the wild child of the dojo, overconfident in his abilities and defying Kim's teachings, but undeniably talented. Kreese sees an opportunity and decides to inflict his own teachings on Kwon. Kreese wants him to use that anger and give it purpose. Kreese also wants him to prove to the other students that he's the best, and after a day of punishment for insubordination, winds up Do-jin to get them to fight. Kwon impressively takes them all out, channeling his anger and proving his worth. Back at Miyagi-Do, things are not going well, as Sam and Tori seem hesitant to fight one another. Johnny knows that, but Daniel believes this is a good opportunity for Johnny to inflict his dad's teachings on them, and that comes from a girls' night with Johnny as the host. Johnny decides to throw in a bit of gossip and cause big conflict. Hilariously, he tries everything to get them to fight, including stealing Robbie and Miguel's phones to stir up trouble. Naturally, things don't go to plan. Inside, Chosen decides he's not going back to Okinawa after all, much to the annoyance of Amanda. Honestly, the look she gives Daniel, boy, you are in the doghouse tonight. Anyway, as they move to bed, they find a hidden trapdoor underneath, which seems to belong to Miyagi-san. Inside the trapdoor is a box, which holds a whole bunch of random gear. Inside is a newspaper clipping about a violent crime and robbery, some boxing gloves and a coin. Given as an address here too, they decide to go off and check it out. Remember what I said in the previous recap about this being side quests and gaining experience points? Looks like we got another one. Amanda shows up with Chosen and Daniel as they arrive at a boxing gym. After a bit of a misunderstanding with the owner and a chase, the owner eventually concedes and talks. He knows who Miyagi is and points out he was a silent partner of the gym back in the day. He fled the country, it seems, after a robbery, and he also beat the crap out of someone. The gym owner's father helped Miyagi flee and evade capture from the authorities. It seems everything Daniel knew about Miyagi was a lie, and unfortunately, he doesn't react well to the news. Meanwhile, Sam and Tori come to blows outside and confront one another about all the issues they have. It works to put water under the bridge, and it's a much needed conversation between them. Johnny speaks to Devon from afar and hilariously mentions how awful this night has been. However, this actually does the trick as the pair get back to fighting properly in the morning, stopping whatever held them back. While this hatred peters out, Kreese embraces Yanga in the dojo ranks of the new Cobra Kai and manages to get the best out of Kwon. With him in line, it seems this new Cobra Kai is going to be unstoppable. At the same time, the dojo receives the host city announcement for the Sakai Taikai.
Oh, that's right, Barcelona.
Each dojo must select 6 fighters maximum, with 1 boy and 1 girl to get picked as captain. Apparently it's quality over quantity, and that is where episode 3 of Cobra Kai comes to an end. Episode 4 of Cobra Kai season 6 starts with Miyagi-Do giving a big pep talk as they need to pick their 6 fighters. Johnny, Chosen and Daniel are going to pick the best fighters, and right now everybody is on a level playing field. Well, out of the characters who get the most screen time anyway. Miguel, Robbie, Sam and Tori are all pretty confident that they've definitely got places. Dimitri has already conceded that he won't and decides to focus on getting into MIT instead. Eli though gives him some words of encouragement. Elsewhere, Daniel and Johnny come to blows over who they're going to pick for the tournament. They both have their own biases and need a fair judge of character. Enter Sensei Mike Barnes. Barnes is brought in to observe and select the top 6 students. He promises to push all of them to their limits and decides the way he'll do this is via eliminations. The top 12 are picked and we've got all the usual suspects. However, Devon has a lot of pent up aggression and isn't happy that she's not getting praise for winning the endurance test. The next day we have captured the flag as a battle royale, with each needing to collect as many flags as possible to progress. By the end we learn that Tori, Robbie, Sam and Miguel are definitely going to Barcelona. However, the bottom 4 are tied for scores, and as for Anthony, he's out. Anthony sports a busted nose too after Kenny bests him. Anthony is not happy and decides he wants to go home, bitterly disappointed about all of this and realising karate is not for him. That night, Johnny shows to see Barnes and apologises. However, he's really here to check on Devon, not to apologise. It turns out, Barnes has put her at the bottom of his list. Johnny is not happy, especially as Barnes antagonises him and eventually calls him a goon for hire. Naturally, the pair come to blows after disagreeing over teaching methods and Johnny being called a cream puff. Johnny comes out on top, but Barnes admits he's been itching for a fight since karate has been brought back into his life. Johnny understands where he's coming from and tells him to make sure he gives Devon a fair shot, from one bad boy to another. The next morning, Barnes gathers everyone and decides to give the final 4 a fair shake. It's too close to call, so there's going to be another opportunity. 2 flags have been placed out in the forest and out of the 4 competitors, only 2 can bring them back. Winning is everything here. In the midst of this, Dimitri is not happy when he finds out Eli never applied for MIT. He's rattled, while everything boils down to this. As the kids compete in the forest, Devon returns with a flag ahead of Kenny, who's embarrassed as he comes back in and struggles to get into the toilet in time, while Hawk and Dimitri fight over the remaining flag. Dimitri takes a heel turn, cheap-shotting Hawk and rushes back with the flag. He and Devon are going to Barcelona. So the final 6 are Miguel, Sam, Tori, Robbie, Devon and Dimitri. However, Kenny is not happy, believing Anthony was the one who spiked his drink. In reality, we find out that it's actually Devon as she throws the laxatives in the bin when Kenny leaves. With everything hanging in the balance, Daniel is not happy that Hawk is sitting things out, warning that they have no idea what they're up against, and this tournament is going to be dangerous. And that is where episode 4 comes to an end. Episode 5 of Cobra Kai Season 6 starts with Tori receiving some encouraging words from a doctor. Her mum is doing well and seems to be on the mend. Unfortunately, this news is soured a bit in the parking lot when Kreese shows up. He's here to check on his champ, but she is not happy. Kreese claims he's just trying to protect Tori and wants her to join Cobra Kai with him. He continues to call her a champion, but Tori simply agrees, before reinforcing that she's doing this for herself, not for him. Tori tells Robbie about the encounter and he promises to keep it between them. He's still got a bit of a chip on the shoulder for coming second all this time, while Tori doesn't believe her victory counts, given Silver paid off the ref. The pair make a deal and promise to stick together and win Sakai Taikai, so they'll both be on the podium when it's all said and done. While Dimitri learns he's got into MIT, Kenny doesn't show up to training. In terms of picking the captain, the 4 top students are put to the test and trained by Johnny. He distorts Miyagi-Do teaching and turns it into something that's actually pretty effective. However, Daniel is not happy and believes his old macho crap is being shoehorned into Miyagi's lessons. Daniel is frustrated, but Amanda confronts him over his earlier promise that he's stepping aside from karate and tells him to lighten up a bit. Amanda also goes on to point out that Miyagi's history with boxing and fighting may mean he wants someone like Johnny to lead them. Daniel refuses to believe his sensei was anything but the perfect man he's looked up to this whole time. Drama ensues though that night when Tori returns home and finds her mum has passed away. However, her fist is clenched, so there may have been foul play involved. Now, this is just speculation at this point, but given we know Kreese will do anything to win, it's not outside the realm of possibility to think this could be the case. He may have killed her just to make Tori be part of Cobra Kai, using her anger and channeling that into the Cobra Kai teachings. One thing's for sure though, Robbie doesn't know any of this as Tori receives the awful news at the hospital that her mum has passed away. She's livid and wrestling with her grief, finding herself spiralling. At the same time, Miguel is not happy that he's been deferred from Stanford. The only way to change that though is going to be to fight Robbie with everything he's got. If he can be the team captain and make a name for himself at the tournament, maybe that will help his prospects in the future. Daniel leaves work early while Johnny is on test drive duty, and as fate would have it, Johnny finds him giving Sam and Miguel some extra training lessons. When Johnny finds out, he's not happy and the pair end up butting heads. Angry, Johnny shows up back at the dealership and decides he's going to leave and start his own, undermining Daniel's business. It's pretty funny to see the reactions, but Amanda takes him into the office to cool off. She also brings up Miyagi's box of trinkets and what's inside. That night, Amanda talks some sense into Daniel. She tries to negotiate and tells him to compromise a bit with her partner. Daniel even admits that since opening the box, he's been off balance and has a scary feeling there's a reason why he didn't know about Miyagi's past. Amanda tells him to focus on the present and specifically the students and Johnny. However, the big fights are upon us. First up are Robbie and Miguel, but before they square off, Daniel speaks to Johnny and decides they ref each of the fights. Tori is still nowhere to be seen. Robbie and Miguel fight, and despite going 2 points down, Robbie turns it around to come out as the victor. As for the girls, Tori shows up in a grief-stricken state just in time. Of course, nobody knows what has happened with her mum right now. While they fight, Tori goes full on aggressive mode and looks set to smack Sam right in the face. Thankfully, she stopped just at the last second, as it turns out Amanda received a call from the medical centre. She and Daniel urged them to stop the fight. They know what's happened with Tori's mum. Tori doesn't want to stop anything, channeling her anger and wanting to fight through the pain. Sam can tell that things are boiling over, but Johnny decides to leave this up to Tori and Sam to decide. Daniel and Amanda refuse. Tori realises that this is pointless and decides to walk away from Miyagi-Do Dojo. Johnny is not happy, and alone, he lets his frustrations out to Daniel. He understands what Tori's going through. When his own mum died, it helped him out to fight on the mat. Daniel and Johnny come to blows over Miyagi's past too, and it ends in Daniel smacking him in the face. Johnny doesn't retaliate, but does tell him that after this tournament it's completely over between them. They'll only keep it together for this tournament. Now, with Tori out and not going to Barcelona, Hawk is instantly given her place. With Sam and Robbie marked as the captains, Daniel notices the sigil and recognises it from the box of trinkets. It turns out Miyagi fought in the Sakai Taikai and his head banner is actually covered in blood, an ominous sign of things to come maybe? With the competition about to take place, we cut across the
Barcelona
as all the different teams show up for the start of the tournament. While Miyagi-Do are dressed in white, the badass Cobra Kai guys show up in black, with Kreese and Kim ready to go to war. Unfortunately, Tori takes her place in the Cobra Kai ranks, having joined them after turning her back on Miyagi-Do. Everyone is shocked, and that is where episode 5 of Cobra Kai comes to an end. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.